everyone, and welcome to the Fit Enough podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sai, and in this podcast, we aim to make fitness simple.
Slight disclaimer, this is round 3 of trying to film this. The first time, what was the first time? Oh, I made a bad joke. Sai wasn't too happy with me. We called the whole thing off. Second time, there wasn't enough storage on the phone, so we technically did the podcast, but it wasn't recorded. And it went on for a very long time, so I'm not surprised there was no storage left.
I think the time before that, I just forgot to press record.
What, have we done it 4 times?
But I think in the same sitting, but we've just tried
Oh, right.
again.
Yes. Anyway, Dirty Laundry has been aired. I've learned from my mistakes. And third time's a charm, maybe.
I'm trying to remember what the joke was so I can get annoyed again.
Let's not bring it up again. But just because we've had that practice does not mean this is going to be a polished article. We've got our notes here on screen to help us out a little bit. And this is very much an introductory episode, a pilot episode, if you will.
Yeah.
So we're going to introduce ourselves a little bit, tell you all about, I guess, like the inception and the origin of 20-Minute Strength, how it came about. And then we want to get into why we want to call this podcast Fit Enough, the Fit Enough podcast. First on the list, who we are. Take it away.
Okay, so I'll start. I am Cyan, also known as Sai. And how much should I say about myself? I'm a personal trainer. I've been a personal trainer for over 5 years now, and I've been doing it part-time alongside other various jobs. And at the moment, I do it alongside working for a health and fitness corporate app, which is very cool. And yeah, I love it. I think I first got into personal training after getting various injuries, and I had to stop, or I more accurately made the decision to stop playing sports at the level I was playing it at, and wanted to, one, fill a hole of all the extra time I was going to have when I wasn't playing sports as much, and then two, to really understand the human body and how we can make ourselves strong and resilient for sports injuries, but just generally in life. And I get to do that alongside other things, which is fab, and now I get to do that alongside Matt, which is even more fab.
It's quite cool. Even in that, you can see, like, even before 20-Minute Strength was discussed between us, you can very much see through your own, like, journey, I guess, where it came from.
Yeah, I think I haven't always had the passion, but there's a very particular point in life where, yeah, it made it really clear to me how much I didn't know about reducing my risk of injury and being more resilient. And I've just been so interested in that because I think ultimately we care about how physically capable we can be, and you don't think about it until something happens. But yeah, we're here to spread the good word and try and make people think about it a bit sooner.
Was that a specific moment for you, or was it like did it happen over time where you're like, oh, actually, I do play a lot of sport, but I don't really know the mechanics of the body and what's good for it and what it needs alongside the sport you're playing?
I think, I just really enjoyed playing sport, and I just wanted to play as much as I could and like perform as best I could. And I guess there was some like strength and conditioning with the teams I was playing with, but it wasn't much. It wasn't consistent enough. I didn't really do anything alongside that. And I just remember getting repeatedly injured, particularly getting sprained ankles. And I wouldn't really have any rehab for it. I just like it would swell up.
Really?
And I just like bandage it up, take a couple of ibuprofens and get back out there and play. And that was just not sustainable and really not great for the body. And I guess there was a part of me that knew I should probably rest it more. I should probably get the ankle back to a decent level of strength and mobility before I started playing
Yeah.
again. There's probably more I could do to help prevent it, but I just wanted to play, and I couldn't be bothered to spend my time doing something that I couldn't really see the value of yet. I can't remember what your question was now.
That was it, like a slow realization or a light bulb moment?
So I guess it was a slow realization through that, but then
And
when
something was like,
when I had my ACL injuries, which is the big knee injury, which is a lot more common than one would think, that made me have to stop. I couldn't just bandage it up and keep playing. So I had to get it operated on, or I chose to get it operated on so I could carry on playing after. But that meant I was out for a year each time.
Yeah.
And it happened twice. So after the first year, that was probably a light bulb moment where I grew more interested in it, and I was really diligent with my rehab and strengthening.
Right. Yeah. So you saw the effects of it as well.
Yeah, because I guess for me it was my body was instantly weakened because I just wasn't using my leg muscle, and there was a trauma, like literally snapped a ligament, and they had to create a new one. So, and I guess that's where you start. So then my muscles wasted away. I naturally, luckily with my genetics, have pretty decent sized, strong quads.
The quays have strong legs.
We do. But you need to use them and train them for them to be sort of helpful, strong. But then I could see the muscle just completely wasting away, and I had one pencil leg and one hench leg, and then I had to build that back up, and it just took a lot of time, a lot of consistency. And I think I could see, wait a minute, if someone doesn't use their legs, you're not going to have strong muscles to support it. Or you might be using your legs, but you might be sort of overusing them and not sort of building the foundations to support them. So I think that sort of forced moment of getting a traumatic injury, in the medical sense, and psychological sense too, to an extent, completely shifted my perspective on strength training for sure, but then just managing and preventing injuries.
You almost like lived an accelerated experience of the issue that society faces as we get older as a population.
I see where you're going with this.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I never thought about it like that, but yeah, you have like when you're born, you're incapable of doing anything on your own, and then you become a toddler and get better motor skills, and then you become really capable. And then as you get older, you lose muscle and then get to that stage of becoming more dependent and less capable of doing the things you'd normally do. And yes, I guess when you have an injury, it's sort of a sight into what it's like to lose that capability.
Yeah.
Very eye-opening.
Very interesting. Did you have anything else?
No, I think I spoke too much about who I am.
Oh well, it was interesting. So,
who are you, Matt?
Right, so I'm Matt. I guess my interest in exercise and strength training came from football. I used to play football to a fairly decent standard when I was a lot younger. And then got into strength and conditioning training to similar in a way to Sai, but without the injury, without the traumatic injuries, of trying to improve my sporting performance through working out in the gym, essentially. I never really knew enough about it, but that was kind of my intent. And then I stopped football anyway, and then, as you say, to fill the gap that sports left, kind of dove headfirst into weightlifting and bodybuilding specifically. Turned out to be a terrible idea. that cause a number of issues. Maybe we can have a separate podcast about that. But basically, my relationship with exercise became obsessive, and kind of like decreased the level of enjoyment I was getting from it. And my relationship with food became terrible as a result as well. Um, so then I kind of went through a personal journey of moving myself away from that obsessiveness that had come with it. Um, and with that, realized that how cool would it be to do a job where I could help people in similar positions who, yeah, just want to be the best versions of themselves physically and mentally. Um, and so it was only 3 years ago now that I became a PT, quit my job, trained to be a PT over the pandemic, became a PT afterwards, and yeah, initially started face to face. And then when we moved over here to Australia, shifted it all online. So now I'm an online coach and obviously working aside to do the things that we want to do as well. And I'm also head coach of another group called Life Beyond Illness, run by a guy called Misha, or Mr. Colitis Crohn's. And it's a community that basically helps people who have been through any kind of chronic digestive tract disease or condition, and helps them get back to kind of their full level of confidence and feeling the best possible version of themselves. Moving swiftly on, we can talk about how we met and how we actually got here in Sydney.
Shall I take it away?
Go on.
So we met in London in the gym, Crouch End Pure Gym.
The gym that I was working at.
And I was a member at. And we got talking. Matt made an excuse to come and talk to me, or maybe the other way around. One of us did. And then we got talking and realised lots of our perspectives on health and fitness aligned, and we had quite similar goals with what we wanted to achieve. We wanted to create our own thing and really make a difference in the way that we could to get more people exercising for their health, for longevity, physical and mental health. And yeah, then we went on a few dates. I told you I was going to Australia. You didn't want to come.
I said no.
And then here we are in Australia.
Yeah, I eventually said yes, obviously. I was fully against the idea to start, and that is probably the biggest eat my hat scenario I've ever been in. Is that the correct phrase? Or eat my words? Maybe it's just my words.
Words and hat.
Words and hat. That's how big it was.
Yeah.
I had to eat both. Yeah, so now we're here. We are, as we both said, we've got our own PT stuff, and then we're joining forces like a transformer to, careful, throwing that wrong sign. Joining forces on 20-minute strength. And how did that start?
This is why we're talking here. So 20-minute strength. For anyone who's found us not through 20-minute strength, 20-minute strength is our online program that we created to make strength training as accessible as possible. So making it short but still effective, at-home workouts, minimal equipment. You just need a resistance band, a chair, and we really believe in it and think that there's not enough stuff out there that demonstrates really effective strength training specifically for beginners, that is as part of a structured program, so you can make real progress over time. So that's what it is. Where it came from is as I was training to be a PT and got my qualification, my dad wanted to start doing more for his health and for his strength, because he used to be super sporty, but now in his 60s he realized he was losing strength, finding it hard to just get out of bed in the morning. So I said, all right, Dad, I'll make you a strength training program that you can do using everything I learned as while I was studying to be a PT. Um, did the 1 hour program, sort of roughly full body strength, and went over it with my dad, and he was just like, "Sign, this is too long. I'm not going to do this. Give me something I can do in 20 minutes." And then I was like, "Sure." And that's where it came from. And I think we quickly realized that lots of people are in that position where hour workouts, even 45-minute long workouts, are really daunting. And it's not just that time you have to get there, you've got to set up and everything, and it takes a significant chunk out of your day. And for some people, you get in the routine and it's fine, but for lots and lots of people, probably the majority of people, even just the thought of spending an hour on exercise is just too much, and then you just never get started, or get started for a couple of weeks and then just can't keep consistent with it. So we wanted to be really realistic without sacrificing on the effectiveness of the workouts. Yeah, origin story of 20-minute strength.
Absolutely. And then when did I first, or when did you first tell me about the idea? Do you remember?
I can't remember. I feel like I'm always telling you about an idea around
Well, yeah,
some point.
that is true.
It was a couple of years ago now. Was it?
It might have been. But then we had a trip to, I think it was our second holiday together. We went to Antwerp, where my parents have a place, so we could stay there. And I think we went
bit of a flex there.
for a no. This is why we went, because we knew we could stay there, free accommodation.
My parents have a place.
One of the many cities they have residents. Did we go for a week or 10 days or something? Maybe it was a week.
I can't remember now.
Anyway, the idea was to go. We had both been working very hard, me probably more so.
Too hard.
And this was an opportunity to really get to spend time together, relax, explore the city. I'd been before, so I'd get to show Sai around, and the kind of rumblings of 20-minute strength and how we could actually create it was happening before this. By the time we got on the holiday, I think maybe 6 out of the 7 days we were sitting in cafes working on 20-minute strength. So it didn't turn out to be the relaxing holiday we imagined, but still a very good holiday, because that's what brought us here, basically.
And I think we were just so excited by the idea that we didn't want to do anything else.
You're right. At that point, it was like it would have been impossible to relax, because we were both like, oh my god, this is how you do it. This is how we can actually create it. So yeah, it wasn't going to happen at that point. No relaxing for us.
No.
And there's been no relaxing since. So
there's been some relaxing.
No, there's been some. There's been a good deal. Yeah, so that is both how and why we started, right?
Yeah.
So then that holiday was in end of August, beginning of September.
I'm not going to remember any of these things. I have a terrible memory. I need to write everything down to remember anything.
I think it was. We can look back on our photos. We then filmed the workouts and everything for 20-minute strength end of October, beginning of November.
Yes.
And then launched it on December 23rd.
Wow.
With a little bit of a pre-order for people to gift it for Christmas, which is very nice. So now it's been going for coming up to a year and a half old.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just starting the podcast.
We are slacking.
So yeah, this is what brings us to this point. I think the podcast is very much attached to it, but also its own separate thing, where we get to talk about why we think people will benefit from strength training, and kind of why fit enough, I guess.
Yeah. And I think there's why we're called Fit Enough, but also just why we're doing this podcast and what we're going to talk about is just like we said at the start, to really make health and fitness simple, because it can be really simple. You're going to get the most vast majority of the benefits of strength training and of exercise from doing the really simple things. It's not saying they're easy things, they're going to be challenging things, but they're really simple and stuff that's been around for years and years and years. It's not sort of trendy, and it doesn't need to be the latest or the most advanced trend in order to get the most results from it. So I think, yeah, we want to myth bust and just bring a bit of good old common sense and
what else?
Simplicity. Is that the word I'm looking for? I've said it too many times now.
And some fun, guys. Let's have some fun. Can all get a bit too serious sometimes. I would know. I'm the king of making things serious when they don't need to be. But yes, you're right. The simpler, the better, and that's what we're trying to do with this podcast. So that brings us on to why Fit Enough. Why are we calling it Fit Enough, this podcast?
I think I touched on a few of them already, but I think the main thing for me is that it's okay to just want to do something so that it's good enough. Like, we don't need to optimize every single part of our lives. And I think so much marketing and noise in the fitness industry is about the latest, most advanced way to optimize your health, to take this supplement to get to your next level, or to get these boots or ice baths or whatever it might be to in order to reach your health and fitness goals. And I think while those things can be really helpful and they can be fun and energizing, they're not a necessity, and there are far bigger fish to fry. Is that the phrase?
Mm-hmm.
There are far bigger fish to fry, guys, which are going to have the biggest bang for your buck. So I think we want to really talk about truly what you need to do to help you, or one, get to their health and fitness goals, whatever that might look like. And what was I going to say? Yeah, and I think for the vast majority of people, including myself to a large extent, is with strength training, I don't love it. Like, I don't love the act of going to the gym and lifting weights or using resistance bands, but I know I'm going to feel great for it after, and I'm going to get the long-term effects of it. It's like what people say about brushing your teeth. Nobody loves to brush their teeth, but if we don't, then we're going to have to pay too many trips to the dentist, and it's going to be really expensive in the long term, which is very similar to strength training. And I think most people just want to feel better in themselves physically and mentally, want to help manage weight, and just want to feel really capable of doing the things that they want to do in their everyday lives. And I think this podcast and what we're trying to do with 20-minute strength is to help people get to that point. It's not about breaking, training like an athlete to that level. It's not about optimizing your health. It's about getting to live the life you want, and how you can support that with strength training.
I think that weight loss is a perfect example of what's happened with all of the information that's being thrown at us when it comes to health and fitness. It's no longer about being a healthy weight. It's about how absolutely peeled to the bone, 0% body fat can you be? And it's like, this is way too extreme. Obviously, there will be some people doing this, but they're in a competition sport. Like, that shouldn't apply to the general population.
Yeah, that's no longer about health. Like, getting a six-pack has actually quite little to do with being healthy.
And I think if you speak to these people, these individuals who are competing, they will all admit that it's an unhealthy standard to uphold, particularly for like walking around every day. So yeah, sorry, go on.
Just like they're like perfectly valid goals if that's what you want to do, but I think then now the fitness industry is, what we see a lot is like that gets taken as the gold standard of what health and fitness looks like, and it's just
like permeates into the mainstream, and then all of a sudden that's what everyone should be aiming for.
And if you're not near that, then you're unhealthy.
When in actual fact we just want to be getting people feeling as healthy as they possibly can. And what that means is, because that can sound a little bit contradictory, particularly when we're trying to get people to the healthiest possible versions of themselves. But what that means is you're taking all of their life into account, like their lifestyle, their work, taking care of kids, other commitments in life, like all of that needs to come into play to say, okay, with all of this in mind, how can we get you just feeling healthy and confident in your body? And the natural complementary thing to that is a really simple, really straightforward strength training program that allows them to live the life they want to live.
Love that.
But yes, a lot of noise out there. We're trying to reduce it as much as possible, make sure that you can stay effective and efficient with your time and your energy, basically.
So like we were saying about there being sort of a single or a very sort of narrow view of what fitness looks like, or the sort of trend that's going around, coming back of just, like you say, bone thin levels of body fat and lots of muscles on guys and this like toned look on women. Fit is going to look very different on each person. Like fit for, fit for a professional rugby player is going to look very different to fit for a rower, or for just a normal person who, a non-athlete who just wants to go on hikes occasionally, to a normal person who is very into fitness and wants to run marathons. Like what they do for their health and fitness is going to look very different. Their bodies are going to look very different. And not just by sort of activity, just us as individuals, we're going to hold muscle, we're going to hold fat in a different and unique way to us. And so when we talk about getting fit enough and being fit enough, it's fit enough for you, fit enough for what you want to do with your life as an individual. And that doesn't mean low expectations, or, just doing the absolute bare minimum that's, you're not sort of scratching the surface of your potential, but it's sort of getting you to where you want to be, without having to faff around with stuff that's probably not going to be that effective for you and your goals.
Absolutely.
So the podcast was your idea?
Yes.
Can you tell everybody why podcast format over our Instagram and emails, or in addition to?
In addition to, because we are trying very hard with that stuff.
Trying so hard.
However, I struggle a lot with social media. I think there's an element of perfectionism that comes in, but it's also just that I'm not very good at it. I haven't done it in a long time, and even when I did do it, it wasn't really for me. But I think what podcasting allows us to do is just to have a conversation, which allows information to come out much more organically. Obviously, we'd have like a topic to discuss, but I just like the idea of being much more relaxed, having a conversation about things, just you and I. There just happens to be a camera there, and I think more than anything, it just allows us to be normal instead of trying to like grab people's attention and get as much information crammed into 60 seconds as possible, and choose the perfect music to make sure
Oh, the music.
it's just, yeah, we're still trying to do it, so I don't want to slag it off too much, but I feel like a podcast, more long form setup, would suit both of us a lot better than just Instagram, maybe.
So I think I agree. I think I was probably more reluctant to do the podcast at the start because I just don't like talking for a long time. So even though
That's such a lie.
what? Do you think so?
You like talking?
I don't like talking.
Maybe not when there's a camera on.
Yeah, I don't like talking when there's a camera on. Matt thinks I talk too much. I like talking about random things that come into my head that I get excited about randomly. But I don't like talking in depth about a topic, especially not when there's a camera on, or even just in conversation. I don't like going into detail about knowledge on something, or like, I don't know, presenting on something. I don't particularly enjoy that.
We'll call this off then.
No, but I think it's such an important skill to be able to do that, because we have things we want to say. We've got messages, we want to try and make this health and fitness thing a lot more accessible, and to share important messages, or what we think is important messages, with the world. So this is one step closer to just being able to do that. And I do think the more we do it, the more naturally, or for me anyway, I will become.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for Instagram as well. I think while
100%.
it feels like such a blocker and a barrier at the moment, sometimes we love it when we like film and come up with these ideas, but then it's like editing it to a certain way, and then all that sort of posting stuff, and then we post and 2 people have liked it.
Yeah, that's
and then it's just like, oh my gosh, we spent like probably about 3 hours on that video, and that's a bit deflating, but it's all part of the process. And yeah, podcast in addition to those things now.
Yeah, why not? Right, should we wrap it up there?
Yeah,
we've covered enough. We've given the people enough. Thank you for tuning in. If you tuned into this first one, look out for the next one. Hopefully that doesn't take 3 rounds of recording.
And it will be more a bit more structured than this one. I think this one is a chance for us to just talk about ourselves for a bit, that we love to do. Yeah, thanks for watching, listening.
Bye.
We did it.
Whoa.